Well, hi everybody, and welcome to Success Sunday. Have you ever made a choice that felt scary, but it set you free? Well, that's what personal independence is all about. This week, we're diving into how owning your choices helps you build the life you want. In week 1, we built self-awareness to understand who we are. Then in week 2, we set boundaries to protect that self. Now in week 3, we're taking it further by making choices that shape our independence. So taking responsibility for your choices is about recognizing that every decision you make, whether it's big or small, is a chance to take control of your life. So it's like saying, I'm the driver, not the passenger. So it's about moving from reacting to life circumstances to proactively choosing which path you're going to take. And that strengthens your autonomy. Let's give an example. So I want to start with an example that's not too personal or dramatic. And let's just say that your value, one of the values that you may have listed in an earlier exercise, was peace. You want peace in your life. That's important to me for sure. So you want peace in your life, and you have a decision to make between going to a networking event for your business, try to drum up some business by networking, or staying home and working on a product that's going to help your business. You have to weigh that decision and decide which one is best for you. So I want to take you through a little exercise that you can do when you have to do this kind of choosing. And that exercise is called, let me take a peek at that. It's value-based decision matrix. That's what we're going to be looking at. So what you need to do is you make a table with your options as columns and use these rows like what your value is. So say it's peace. And then a boundary, like protecting your time. And then 2 rows from what I've studied called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm going to show you that in just a minute. Like build confidence and aligns with the true self. Then for each thing that you're thinking about, score it from 1 to 5, 1 being the worst alignment with your value and 5 being the best. And you weigh the 2 columns, and whichever score is higher, then that will be the best decision for you to make. Let's first take a quick look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is about self-actualization, becoming your best self. Okay, so I got this one from Wikipedia, so it should be fine to use in my video. So as you see at the bottom of the pyramid is basically your physiological needs, which was for your survival: air, water, food, shelter, housing, protection from exposure, clothing, sleep, and reproduction. So it's the fundamental biological requirements for survival. And once that's met, then you have safety needs above that. So that's personal security, no violence, crime, war, health and well-being, stable environment, financial security, safety nets. So it's security and predictability in your environment. And above that, you have love and belonging. So family, friendship, community, romantic relationships, group membership, affection, and intimacy. So that's social connection and acceptance. And the next step is you're building your esteem. So self-respect, confidence, respect from others, reputation, recognition, and achievement. So recognition, competence, and respect. This is kind of where we are studying in that realm. And at the very top, where you are self-actualized, there is creativity, personal growth, moral development, pursuit of meaning, purpose-driven action, peak experience, joy, transcendence, and insight. So that's realizing your full potential. So moving on to the exercise, there's going to be a tie-in with this. Let's take a look at the exercise. Okay, so here's the sample decision chart. that I talked about. It's one way that you can help yourself make the right decisions if you have trouble deciding between a couple of things. So again, the scenario is choosing between a networking event or working on a business product, and your value is peace. So down the left, I have the criteria. Your value is peace. Boundary is protecting your time. And then in this esteem realm from Maslow's hierarchy, builds confidence. And from the very top of the hierarchy of needs, self-actualization aligns with your true self. Let's look at each thing. The networking event, for your peace value, it might rate a 2 because it's stressful and crowded. For working on your product, it might rate a 5 because it's calm and focused. So the boundary, protecting time, below that. The networking event might rate a 3 because it takes an evening and there's just some value to it. And on the product, maybe it rates a 4 because it controls your schedule. You can take control of your own schedule that way. Next one, building confidence, esteem. The networking event might rate a 3 because networking builds skills. The product rates a little higher, number 4, because you make progress on your business. And on aligns with true self or self-actualization. In the networking event, maybe it's pretty low, rates a 2 because that's not your passion. But working on the product would rate a 5 because that's tied to your business vision, so very important. Now, adding all them up, the network event has a score of 10, and the work on your product has a score of 18. So working on the product scores higher, supporting peace in your authentic self and boosting independence. So that was kind of a more intricate way of trying to decide between two things, maybe work-focused. But when you're on a more personal level, you don't really have to go to those extremes, but if you wanted to, you could do that. For me, one of the biggest decisions I made that really turned my life around was when I had to decide to move out from my father. And for something like that, you could just use a pros and cons list. This is what mine would look like. So here it is, the pros and cons, weighing the good and bad. Should I move out? Okay, when I was just in college, I had to make that decision. So I thought about it. The pros were that I could make my own decisions. I didn't have to run everything by my father if I'm living, in an apartment away from him. I didn't have to run everything by him and get criticized. And I could make my own schedule, so I didn't have to be coming home at 10 p.m. every night like he wanted. I could decide who to date without interference from him. I know criticism, he probably just wants the best for me, but I think no one was good enough for me, in his opinion, like every dad's little girl. And less isolation because I'd have roommates to talk to, whereas at home it was me and my father, and I often would be up in my room, or if I wanted to talk to him, it was usually about what was going on in the world, wars and political things. Not so much fun to talk about. And the cons were that, of course, I had to pay rent. My father didn't make me because I was in school and working part-time to help put myself through school, so he didn't make me pay rent. That was a good thing. And I also, living in an apartment with roommates, then you have to deal with other people's idiosyncrasies, whether they're messy or clean. Maybe they're going to throw a party and you're worried whether or not there's going to be drugs there or some crazy going on things. So I would have to leave if that was happening, if I didn't want to get involved in what they were doing. So, of course, the pros outweighed the cons, and I did move out, and it was a good decision because it did help me grow up and start to realize what my values were and were not, and what I could put up with and what I couldn't. So it was a good experience. Okay, and one of the hardest things we all have to deal with a lot of the time is relationships that we're in, whether we have to decide if someone's good or not good for us. We hope that they're good for us, but through time, we start to see the reality of who they are, and they see the reality of who we are. So we have to make a decision. They might have to make a decision based on what they see and weigh it against their values. And you have to weigh other people you're with against your values, other people that you're with as a partnership. And so maybe I'm thinking of a scenario now. Imagine someone who realizes they deserve self-respect. And so they're becoming self-aware that they need self-respect and they're not getting it from this person. So then they know that they have to set boundaries by limiting contact with a toxic friend or partner. And then after a while, when things don't change, they decide they have to leave the relationship for good. So that choice is them claiming their independence because they've weighed it against their values and they've set boundaries. And if it's not working, it's not working, and you just have to move on. And you keep building your values and building your boundaries and accepting or not accepting what people are doing to you or behaving around you. That's how you start to build your more authentic life. So maybe you don't need to use a scoring type exercise for yourself, and maybe you don't need to do pros and cons. Maybe you just want to journal about this. So I have something for you here. I'm calling it your decision reflection journal prompt. So take 5 minutes this week to write down one choice you made recently and ask yourself, did it reflect my values? Did it respect my boundaries? And did it make me feel more independent? So I hope that you'll share your reflections with me in the comments or on social media, which I'll link to in the description box below. And just realize that taking responsibility for your choices is about owning your power to shape your life and your future. So this week, notice the choices you make and how they align with your independence. So on Wednesday, we're going to dive deeper into how to overcome the fear of making the wrong choices or the wrong choice so that you can act with confidence. So that's it for today. I hope to see you on Wisdom Wednesday. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks for stopping by.